Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us again here today. To provide you with an update on our state of local emergency and associated response, we have 3 town representatives to provide you with an update. Mayor Jeff Chudung, CAO Mike Derricott, and our Director of Emergency Coordination Center, Sean Pauley. We ask that you please hold your questions until the end of the conference so we are able to provide all of the necessary information. I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Jeff Chudung.
Thank you, Kristen. Press conference number 4. Here we go. Thanks again for everyone for being here. Always appreciate the media. Like I've been saying for 4 days in a row now, appreciate your efforts in helping us get our messaging out to residents in our community and into the region about our water and wastewater incident and situation we have in our community. I'm happy to report today we have some good news to share. Perhaps it's evident with the body language in the room or even just the energy in the building today. But happy to say that the positive trends in our water reservoir levels, coupled with the successful isolation and control of the recent leak, as well as the unwavering commitment of our community towards conservation, have provided us the data required to officially lift the state of local emergency. Our reservoir levels have been steadily improving, and we have now reached a point where we can confidently say that we have enough water for vital fire suppression efforts. And that was always the key in this. It was never about water quality. It was about the efforts to be able to suppress a fire in the event that we were to have one. This is a critical milestone for our town's safety and resilience. This achievement would have been impossible without the dedicated efforts of our town staff, contracted workers, who have been working day and night to address this complex problem. And I just want to stop here and just say that those efforts have not been overlooked. The commitment from our staff and the contractors on site, it's been a 24/7 commitment, and it's had some wear and tear on people. And this has been an issue, obviously, we've been dealing with since Saturday night. In a smaller community like Cochrane, this is a big deal. And our staff have risen to that occasion I'm just so proud of them. It's just I don't want to break up here on the press conference. In concert with our staff, obviously, big shout out to Cochrane residents in making huge efforts to significantly reduce our water usage. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude for the outpouring of support from local businesses, volunteers, and organizations. This includes the Calgary YMCA. You probably would have seen us report that last night, who stepped up to offer free access to their facilities for all Cochrane residents. That was outstanding, and another show of how communities and neighbors can work together in all of this. And Cochrane, you have been amazing. Hats off to you. Yesterday I was wearing a hat around, maybe making a joke about my hair problem with all the lack of shampoo and showering, but and again, not making light of the situation at all, but I'm just so proud of our community. This is what community is. This is the effort that when people lean in together, this is the outcome. We have overcome the strife that we've been facing here the last few days, and it's because of efforts of all of our community members. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Sean Pauley, Director of Emergency Coordination Center. You missed the best part of the speech there. To provide more details on the events that have occurred to this point. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor Chudung. So last night was a turning point in our efforts as crews made significant progress by successfully installing 2 crucial and critical water valves. These valves allowed our teams to isolate the affected pipeline and ultimately control the leak. We've achieved a significant milestone in our reservoir levels, and now we have enough water for the desperately needed fire suppression water that's important for our community. Cochrane continues to be under a level 3 water restriction while this repair is underway, and our water system and supply continue to refill those reservoirs and recovers. So here in town, a level 3 water restriction means no bulk water sales, no outdoor watering, and an ability for the town to reduce water pressure where required. Certainly, this is with the string of weather, it's certainly helpful on the outdoor watering part, but it's important to share. Outdoor watering may be also attributed to building outdoor ice rinks at this point, and that's some of the weather would be not advised at this point, and we would kindly ask citizens not to do that. At this time, we ask residents to be conscious of their water use as we continue to stabilize our systems. We appreciate that many of you have been holding off doing a load of laundry or running your dishwasher, and we really want to say thank you. You have actually made the difference in doing these things. The pictures, the posts, the efforts, the little things, we all take those. I think sometimes there was lots of posts about people bringing in snow. I was in the ECC earlier, well, in the ECC a lot actually, just recently, and we had a resident drop off some baked goods for us, which was appreciated, and she made them with snow outside. It's just the heartfelt appreciation. It means a lot. At this time, we want to just say that it's okay, and I would invite you to complete some of these things. Oh, sorry, I missed that part. Hold on here, I got to go back in time. We appreciate that many of you have been holding off, and you've made a difference, and we would encourage you and support you by saying, do that load of laundry, run your dishwasher. We would just say if you could do those outside at peak times. Peak times for us means outside in the morning from any time before 6 or after 9 o'clock in the morning, and evening times any time before 4 or that after 9 o'clock at night. So again, peak times, please try to avoid some of those expansive water use in the morning outside of 9 a.m. and after 9 p.m. So that was what we would ask for. Some specific updates I'd like to share with you is late last night, water was restored to our local hotels, our local car dealership, and these are now ensured. We're ensuring that we have uninterrupted operations for these local businesses. Right around 6 o'clock this morning, we stopped hauling water into our reservoirs. We've also discontinued this as we've had a positive reflection in those reservoir levels and service. We want to say that due to the hard work of the Town of Cochrane employees and our contractors, we've been able to maintain water service to our residents of Riverside Place. And while they were served a 24-hour water disruption notice, that was not the case, and we were able to support their needs through the hard work and dedication of these teams that are on the ground for the last 24 hours and many, many days. We do not anticipate any widespread water shutoffs for our community. Road closures continue on West Side Drive, Riverview Drive, while work continues through this area, and our temporary road closure on Glen Eagles Drive was removed earlier this morning to allow for more efficient traffic movements. Today is a marked improvement, and we have turned a corner in our incident response. Thank you to everyone who has played a role in getting us to this place, and I'd like to now pass the mic to Mike Derricotte, Chief Administrative Officer, for some more and additional information on the role residents and businesses in town can play. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Pauly and Mayor Janung. Being the third one to speak, I have to be a little bit redundant, but I do want to just thank, again, starting with the community, businesses and residents who responded as we asked by limiting their water use. It was impactful and has helped us get to a much better place that we are today. I want to also acknowledge our staff who have stepped up, leaned in. We have a group of proud public servants, and I personally have not been prouder of a team of public servants in my career than I have been over our team, over the past 4 or 5 days as we've dealt with this difficult situation. Certainly pleased to be a part of announcing that we are lifting the state of local emergency, but I do want to clarify that the Emergency Coordination Center remains active. This means that Cochrane administration has not returned to normal operations. Many of our staff are still pulled away from their day-to-day roles to support the now repair and recovery efforts. So please, we ask for your continued patience if you're interacting with the town. It may not feel like a normal response is timely, and it will still be a number of days before we are fully back to normal operations. We also understand that there may be many questions. We've heard some here over the last few days about the incident regarding water volumes lost, cause, cost. We want to confirm that these are valid questions. And please rest assured that we are capturing this information and will share it in due course, but we still remain focused on response and repair of the break. As we continue to work through the response, we have activated an incident call center. The number is 403-851-7719. You don't have to remember that. It is on our website and social media channels, but we do encourage anyone who has questions or inquiries related to the incident to use that number to get in touch with the town. We also recognize that there has been some anxiety in our community regarding the potential to be without water. As Chief Pauly confirmed just a moment ago, we do not anticipate any widespread water outages. Hopefully we can alleviate that anxiety in our community. I'd also like to clarify that we have always known the location of the leak and that the challenge lay in isolating the leak, which was why we had to insert valves into the system to accomplish that. I'm also pleased to remind Cochrane that our water quality has not been a concern throughout this process. It has remained safe to drink. Again, parroting some of the language the mayor used, it's been about quantity of water, not about quality. I think also want to take a moment to acknowledge our Spray Lake Sawmill and Spray Lake Sawmill Centers. We've noted them several times as our largest water users. Again, both have responded and been incredibly cooperative as we've worked through this. We continue to encourage residents and businesses and those who are interested to follow formal Town of Cochrane media channels for information, namely our website and our social media. We'll be pleased to take some questions now. Yes, thank you. Great question. We will be working with those affected parties. I didn't mention before, but we are aware that there were also a number of voluntary business closures, which we appreciate. We encourage those businesses affected to return to operations, again, being conscientious about water. And we are in contact with Spray Lakes so that they can resume operations as soon as is responsible.
We were standing here about 48 hours ago, and the situation was completely different. I mean, it was still not in control. There were some plans in place, but the energy, like you said, Mayor, completely different. I want to talk a little bit about, maybe a little bit, if you can, about that game plan, about the actual, like, having that ability. I don't remember hearing that, but if that was the plan of getting those
valves
in and all that kind of stuff. Of like, it was one of these, like, kind of, efforts we all put our heads together and I think we can do this, and how that all came to fruition.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to make a few comments, and then certainly we'll allow those as they come. So, 48 hours ago, I think we would probably have been standing here feeling frustrated that we were unable to have a solution in place. And early on in the process, the very first thing, if you recall, was actually stopping the flow of effluent into the river. Accomplished that. The next became water loss. And we started to work to try to isolate the break. When it became apparent that we weren't going to be able to do that in a timely manner, we started water hauling operations, et cetera, to ensure that we could keep our water levels at a sustainable level. Once the initial isolation efforts with existing valves was unsuccessful, it was determined that inserting new valves was going to be the course of action. And then it just took a period of time, obviously, to enact that plan. But all through this process, I will say, as we got closer and closer to actioning a solution, you start to feel better and better. Early stages, it doesn't feel good to have a problem without an apparent solution, and certainly feel better about that today, standing before you, not only having a solution, but one that's being effective is a much better feeling, I hope, not just for us here in the organization, but also for the community. But Mayor, anything to add to that?
Yeah, thank you. The only thing I would add, I think Mike has outlined it very well, was that our plan was always one where we didn't have to turn water off to multiple users throughout the community. So all of the actions that Mike has outlined were steps in ensuring that. We would be standing here today talking about different problems or different timelines, in fact, if we had gone a different route. We're all pleased today that the plan of attack worked, and we weren't talking about widespread outages throughout our community. Chief, I don't know if you have additional comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, definitely. I think I just want to make sure it's clear that we weren't waiting to complete one task, then start the next task. This was a simultaneous approach. So building upon Mr. Derricott, Mr. Janung's comments, it's important to know that there were a series of efforts that were needed to be made around the protection of water and water quality, and then building fire suppression. So I think there's multi-layers that we're ensuring. Ultimately, the game was to prevent from further or any contamination. I should clarify, any contamination of our water systems or in our reservoirs to ultimately try to speed up a response or a normal operations. So I think that's got us to this 48-hour point where we feel very comfortable in how we've actually proceeded.
I want to add to that, and then again, 48 hours. Again, there was also talk like we could maybe potentially be looking at several days too. And that's a testament to the people that aren't even in this room and the other people that are diligently at work here. We talk about that team as well, like literally in 2 days, completely different energy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we've tried really hard to communicate what's happening behind the scenes, but it's dozens of smart, talented, dedicated people who are out there working. And as we started this incident, we got the weather coming in as well. It's cold, it's uncomfortable. The site is a mess, quite frankly, and those are not conditions that anyone wants to work in. But our teams, as I said, stepped in, leaned in, did what needed to be done to get a solution for our community. And we're grateful for all of their efforts and proud of the team for sure.
Maybe I could just add one thing on that. I thought you might go there. We talk in terms of ECC. In the municipal world, we have all of these acronyms. The Emergency Coordination Center and I think it's important to maybe break down for residents about how those are enacted. I mean, we practice for these types of situations. We stand up, we call our ECC in an event, but that draws on municipal staff, the town of Cochrane staff, your staff that work at this organization on a daily basis, that train over years to practice for an event such as this. And that means that we're pulling people from legislative services or parks or ops or actually all of our departments. And they all have a role to play. They play that role, but then they have to backfill one another. So it's not just 8 people, it's dozens of people that have been working around the clock since Saturday night. And that's why I think it's important to highlight, we're asking for patience, why maybe there isn't going to be a council meeting as an example, or a public hearing, or maybe that notice might get out a little later than what you were hoping or expecting for. So that's the reason why. But those people in that room have really been the backbone of this operation. And I think I'd like to publicly thank Chief Pauly for his efforts, Stacy Lowe, her efforts, and I've mentioned 2 people, but there are a number of people that I could go on and thank, but they're 2 key individuals that have helped keep this the glue of all of those people in that room. But thank you, both.
Can I get can you just, like, now we kind of have this whole, I guess, starting. Can you give, just summarize what's next, and when potentially on a timeline could we see an investigation into what happened?
Thank you. So we are asking our community to continue to be conscientious around water levels because we have achieved fire protection, but there is also still additional storage that we'd like to have. And so that will likely take a few days to get to optimum levels. So that's the first part of that question. Now that the repair is being enacted, it's being done as we speak. We will start to switch into the understanding mode, the investigation. Part of enacting our emergency procedures is to ensure that we are fully documenting everything that's happening and what's being done so that we can properly understand that. And the time will come, as you said, to investigate, to understand, and then hopefully to build procedures that will prevent this type of thing from happening in our community in the future.
And my question to the mayor, so, I mean, obviously this has been a really emotional time for the community, a lot of anger too at what happened. How do you reassure that you've made the proper steps within this response?
Yeah, I think the time will come for us to dissect our operations, how we reacted to the situation. We'll do a post-mortem and a debrief and all of those cliches, and not to be trite about it at all. This is a serious matter. Council has many questions, as do our community. The time will come to answer all of those questions. We will be fully transparent in that process. Again, I think it's just important that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves now. We're not out of the weeds yet. We're still in the process of fixing this situation. But I mean, the days in the future here will be all about answering questions. But I do want to stop and talk about, I've heard from many people that we're growing too fast, or this is an outcome of extreme growth. It is not. We could have had a million reservoirs around our community. This situation would have had the same outcome. We would have had the same response. And in fact, the project that we were in the process of putting in place was to ensure, ironically, that these types of situations and emergencies don't happen at all. So we were planning for redundancy. We were planning for future capacities. And we were planning for a situation just like this. It was just really bad timing and luck on our community's part that it was the project meant to build that redundancy that caused the catastrophe in the first place. So I think that's the takeaway for residents, is that our administration has highlighted these deficiencies in our system, if I can call it that, or risks, maybe is a better word. And we were in the process of filling those gaps. So, I mean, we will continue to do that work and get ahead of that.
If I may, sorry, just to add to that. So I think Chief Polly mentioned is we had a plan, and one of the core elements of that plan was to ensure that we disrupted the water service to the least amount of residents possible. And so while we did ask people to conserve and restrict water use, I think we're very comfortable that we worked hard to inconvenience our community the least amount possible. And that's difficult in these situations because we know it was impactful. But we feel really good about the plan we put in place and the work that's been done in that regard. I also wanted to add, in terms of the investigation or the information gathering that will take place after, is it's not just residents of our community or council or even administration. We have lots of our own questions that want answered, but there's also regulatory bodies now that will be requiring us to do some reporting, including Alberta Environment and the Alberta Emergency Management Agency. Whenever you enact a state of local emergency, there's requirements there as well. So there is processes for the people of our community to have confidence that we will be appropriately answering all of those questions that exist there.
I just have a question, a clarifying question. Last time I listened in, sewer line, it was stated that it was being bypassed. Is it now capped, or what's the state of the sewer line?
Thank you. We still have an active bypass in place. Yep. The repair work is hopefully in action now. So we hope that temporary situation will be resolved soon, but currently it is still being bypassed.
You're not ready? We're hearing some reports of price gouging on water and KB formula and things like that. Have you heard of that? And if you haven't, if you did, is there any action?
Yeah, I think that's not a report I think we've heard specifically, and obviously that would be, I think, an unfortunate reality. We try not to get involved in individual businesses' business practices, and they may make choices around that. I would just encourage, first of all residents to know that the water has been and remains safe to drink. You do not need to stockpile water or purchase water in particular at exorbitant prices. Please don't feel you need to take that action, I think, is the best thing we could tell residents right now.
So the initial reports were, this happened in preparation for drilling. I don't think you've ever said exactly what, it wasn't one of the directional drills that hit the pipe, was it? Or was it an excavator?
Yeah, so I think I'm certainly not a technical expert, so maybe my answer for that will work for those who are also not technical experts. There's a pre-process where you put in a guide basically for the directional drill, and it was during that process that the lines were damaged.
I'd like to just go back to the wastewater line. You're saying the bypass is still in place. Of course, it became a secondary issue after that. What type of time frame are you looking at for the repair of that, or is that underway right now?
Yeah. So I will confirm that the repair work is underway. As you may recall from some earlier press conferences, you never quite know what you're going to find when you get down to the site. And so I don't think we're comfortable specifying a specific time, but I think I used the language yesterday. Again, we're comfortable. We're measuring that in hours now.
And I know I ask this every time, but what is the financial burden on the town from this at this point, and how's it being managed?
Yeah. So I think obviously acknowledging that there has been cost incurred in managing this situation is quite obvious, but not yet determined in terms of where that burden will lie. We will absolutely obviously work to protect the interests of the community and the taxpayers, but we haven't reviewed that in any detail yet.
Okay, and with of course, this being an active state of emergency, have you made applications to the government at this point, or are you reserving that option for later?
Yeah, so the state of local emergency no longer active, but it was up until just a few minutes ago. That'll be part of the evaluation process in terms of the financial cost and implications. It will then be clear whether or not we will be eligible for potential financial support, and we can apply at that point in time. But there has not been an active application yet.
Has Alberta Environment, at some point, will you be submitting a report to them? Have they asked for one, or is that part of your to-do list down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. So Alberta Environment has been on site and working closely throughout the incident, and there will absolutely be reporting requirements that they will ask of us. There's standard reporting procedures around the operation of a water or wastewater treatment. We are regularly making reporting to Alberta Environment, and we will be doing that in this case, obviously, as well.
Can I just clarify, you're using the same contractor repair as well, is that correct?
That's correct. The contractor is leading the repair work at this time.
Is there any justification? You can justify why?
Absolutely. So some of that has to do with the fact that the contractor is mobilized and on site and able to do so without delay, I think would be the biggest factor there.
You doing these over the weekend, or are you doing this again through the weekend?
The press conferences, I think that we'll make that determination tomorrow, and as information evolves, it will depend a little bit on the status of the incident forthcoming, but please stay tuned. We will try to make people aware of that as soon as we made that determination. So, good. Thanks again for your time.